Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for This or That. The concept's as simple as always. I have a series of scenarios for our esteemed panel to examine. They have to choose this or that, one or the other, but you got to justify your choice. Let's start with scenario number one. You're a high-profile college football head coach. We'll leave names out of it. You make college football playoff for the first time in your career and for the first time in program history. Do you A, leave that team for a conference rival with a higher national profile, or B, stay to coach the team in the playoffs and keep building a contender in a relatively under-the-radar program? Saad, lead us off here, this or that.
You absolutely have to stay. There's no question about it. In a business that is relationship driven in terms of the recruiting and all of the trust that you have to win over, it just is not a good look when you're leaving a already established school. Again, that's the important thing here. This is Ole Miss. This is not Eric Morris leaving UNT to go to Oklahoma State or the Tulane coach leaving to go to Florida. This is not that. If you are in the playoff as an SEC program, it doesn't matter which job opening came open. You have to stay and ride it through. You'll have other opportunities down the road, but you can't leave your team high and dry the way Lane Kiffin did.
Jonah, your thoughts?
Well, notice how Saad works for The Athletic. If he was working for a community newspaper and The Athletic came calling saying, hey, Saad, we'll pay you a lot more money and give you a higher profile job, you're going to turn him down? I think just for the sake of devil's advocate, there is something to be said about going to a higher profile school or whatever it is in order to climb the career ladder. Everybody does it in every profession. I don't think college football coaching is any different.
So I'm going to jump in here and say I kind of agree on Saad. This is like 1A, 1C, not 1B, because there is a jump. But by all accounts, you're doing what LSU already wants to do. You're there. You've already established yourself. And more importantly, you have a chance to set your own legacy at this program as opposed to being the umpteenth offensive coordinator at LSU to get fired 3 years after getting hired. To me, like this is just a setup for another up the ladder, and it's another reminder that college head coaching is a scam at this point. Whoever buys into it, it's just ridiculous. And I'm sorry that every kid and everybody else in the organization has to deal with it. All right, moving on. Scenario number two, and I imagine I'm giving this to you at the beginning of the college football year, guys. If I guaranteed you'd sweep your traditional rivals but miss the college football playoff, or I simply guarantee you a spot in the college football playoff, which would you take? Jonah, this or that?
Yeah, this one's easy. You take the guaranteed spot in the college football playoff because that's what you play the season for, to have a shot at the national championship. You can, the week-to-week overreactions, you love to, rub it in your rival's face. But at the end of the season, winning a championship is the ultimate rub it in the rival's face, and you don't get there unless you're in the playoff.
Saad. I went backwards.
Well, I think I could see either side here, just because if your rivals is situationally like the way that Texas was this year, both of your rivals you beat are very quality opponents. It's not like they're just bottom feeders. That's something to take pride in. But at the end of the day, you do play the entire season to make the playoff and have a shot at a national championship. You should, if you beat both of your rivals, you should have an opportunity to do that. You just can't lose to Florida along the way. So I think that's the problem that Texas ran into, because if you look at their game against Texas A&M, if you look at the way that they played against Oklahoma, those are two games against your rivals that you won and showed me that they're good enough to be in the playoff. But that's not the only two games on the season.
I will also say this. Everybody in Michigan has been rubbing in Ohio State's face for the last 4 years that they beat them on their national championship season. And Ohio State, at least half the fan base would rather trade for that end-of-season win. That's part of the reason why this is in there. Jonah, do you think Texas should make the playoff?
I do. But I also think that Texas shouldn't be scheduling Ohio State for non-conference. College football has become so watered down. I don't like it as a fan of college football. But if a program wants to make the playoff, sometimes you need that sparkly record. And this is a situation at the end of the regular season where you want that sparkly record to make the playoff.
Saad, would you cast your ballot for Texas?
I would not. And the main reason is not because of the Ohio State game. Actually, I hope that Texas keeps, having that game on the schedule. You have to beat Florida. That's the game you can't lose. You can lose to Georgia. You can lose to Ohio State. You can't slip up and lose to Florida the way they did. Otherwise, they'd be in the playoffs. So for me, that's the game.